time frame, the student will be administratively withdrawn from the university. If the restriction is not cleared by Friday of week 3 of the upcoming quarter, the student will not be permitted to enroll in courses until the subsequent quarter. For example, if a Category 2 restriction is imposed in autumn quarter, and it is cleared after Friday of week 3 of winter quarter, the student may not enroll in courses until spring quarter. Student education records and directory information. Directory information. The university makes available, without the consent of a student, only such information as would ordinarily be published in a student directory or other materials intended for public distribution. The university defines directory information as name, current address, UChicago email address, telephone listing, photographs, major field of study fields, major, minor, year of study and/or class information, current registration status, awards and honors, participation in officially recognized activities and sports, weight and height of members of athletic teams, dates of attendance, degrees, most recent educational agency or institution attended. Graduate and professional school students may request that all of their information be withheld through the My Information portlet of the MyUChicago portal. In the college, students can request to have all of their information withheld by completing a form available in the office of the Dean of Students in the college. The university may use information which the student has directed be withheld from public release for internal purposes or per exceptions provided by the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. Students should be aware that by instructing the university to withhold this information, the university and every university official will be unable to confirm any information about a student's attendance at the university, including the student's enrollment status, program or degree confirmation, years of attendance or graduation, etc. The student's name will also not appear in any university published material, including convocation and degree program publications. Because this may have serious consequences for a student's ability to seek employment or graduate opportunities, students should consider carefully withholding this information. A student with questions about this should direct those questions to the student's area dean of students. Address changes. Students are responsible for ensuring that their directory information, including mailing address, is accurate and current, in addition to maintaining accurate emergency contact information. The university sends certain official communications by regular mail to the address on file with the university registrar. Mail returned to the university because the student no longer resides at that address will not be resent, and the student will be responsible for any late fees and other administrative action resulting from failure to respond to the mailing. Most students may update their address information via the My Information portlet of the MyUChicago portal. Chicago Booth students should update their address using the Chicago Booth portal. International students must also provide a permanent address in their country of citizenship in addition to the U.S. residential address. Name changes. Requests for name changes must be submitted to the university registrar. Detailed information about the name change process can be found online at International students wishing to change their names in the university records should contact the Office of International Affairs prior to submitting a request for name change to the registrar's office to ensure the proposed change is acceptable. Graduating students should submit name change requests at least 2 months before they are expected to graduate. Preferred name. Current students can indicate a preferred first and/or middle name, which is a name the student wishes to be commonly known as, if different from their legal first and/or middle name. A student may change their preferred name using MyUChicago. The student's preferred name will only be seen via class rosters, grade rosters, chalk, and the online directory. The primary name will continue to be the student's legal name and will continue to appear on the transcript, diploma, UChicago card, and any documentation involving financial aid, student accounts, or international student status. Students must continue to use their primary names when conducting official university business. Record maintenance. A student's education records are defined under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act of 1974 as including, subject to the limitations described in the Act, records, files, documents, and other materials which contain information directly related to a student, and are maintained by an institution or by a party acting for such institution. At the university, a student's education records are often maintained in a number of offices: the Office of the Dean of Students in the Student's Academic Unit, the Students Department, and other offices across campus. A student's official academic record is maintained indefinitely in the Office of the University Registrar. Policies governing the maintenance, review, and ultimate disposition of students' education are governed by the University Record Retention Policy. Student records, the retention policy is as follows. Type of record. Retention policy. Admissions applications. 5 years from graduation or date of last attendance, 2 years if not enrolled. Academic records. 5 years. Career advising. 3 years. Discipline records. 5 years from last incident, permanent if involves suspension or expulsion. Student affairs, extracurricular activities and athletics. 6 years. Housing records. 5 years after graduation or last attendance financial aid, student loan, and scholarship records. 4 years after later of graduation or payoff disability accommodation records. 7 years. Tuition and expense payment records. 8 years. Specific questions should be directed to the student's area dean of students. Inspection and review of education records. The university's procedures regarding the inspection and review of education records under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act are as follows. 1. All students who are or have been in attendance at the university have the right to inspect and review their education records subject to the limitations and exceptions set forth in FERPA and its related regulations, 20 U.S.C. 1232G and 34 CFR Part 99. 2. Education records include all information maintained by the university that is directly related to a particular student. For this reason, academic calendars, course syllabi, general announcements, and other materials related generally to the germane academic program or course of study are not subject to FERPA review. Additionally, although students will have access to personal electronic data printed in an appropriate format, the university will not create custom documents, summaries, or reports from such systems or databases. 3. To facilitate the gathering and inspection of student records, all requests must be submitted in writing to the Office of Campus and Student Life. Neither requests to other university offices nor verbal requests will be honored. 4. If a student's request is unclear or insufficiently specific, a representative from the Office of Campus and Student Life may discuss the request with the student to assure that the appropriate records will be gathered for the student's review. The representative from the Office of Campus and Student Life will then coordinate with relevant university offices to gather the requested records, review the records to confirm that they are complete and redact any FERPA-waived recommendations. Information about other students subject to FERPA privacy obligations, or any other information protected from disclosure by FERPA or other applicable law. Finally, the representative will make arrangements with the student to inspect the records in person. 5. Education records belong to the university and, although students have the right to review and request amendments as set forth below, students are not authorized to photocopy, photograph, or otherwise image or duplicate university records. Students may, however, take personal notes regarding their educational records. Students should be mindful of the risks of sharing personal information from their educational records with those who are not subject to FERPA's privacy requirements. 6. A student's medical records, maintained separately by the Student Health Service and/or the Student Counseling Service, are subject to strict confidentiality except as authorized by applicable law. Student medical records are not considered to be part of a student's education records within the meaning of FERPA. A student should continue to consult their physician or mental health professional about how to obtain their medical records. 7. Parental statements of financial resources will remain confidential. Where parents indicate a willingness for the information in such statements to be shared with the statements will be made available to the student upon request. 8. University students who apply for admission to another university professional school or graduate program have no right to access records of that school or program unless the student has been admitted to and begins attending that school or program. 9. Personal notes written by a member of the faculty, an advisor, or other university employee concerning a student that are generated and maintained for the exclusive use of the writer are not considered part of the student's education record under FERPA. 10. Access to a student's education records will be provided within a reasonable period of time, but in no case will an offer to meet and review the records be made more than 45 days after the request. If, after reviewing their educational records, a student believes that certain records encompassed by the request were not made available for inspection, the student should submit a follow-up request clarifying the additional records the student believes exist. Amendment of education records. Right to a hearing. The university will provide students an opportunity for review if they believe their education records to be inaccurate or misleading. If a student believes a record is inaccurate or misleading, the student may write the university official responsible for the record or the area dean of students, clearly identifying the part of the record the student wishes changed and specifying why the record is inaccurate and misleading. A conciliation conference between the student, the area dean of students, and the author of the challenged material will first try to reach a reasonable solution. Such a solution might be the correction or deletion of the challenged material, or the insertion by the student of a written explanation of the material. Should the results of the initial conference prove unsatisfactory to the student may request a hearing. Additional information regarding the hearing procedures will be provided to the student upon receipt of the request. The FERPA amendment hearing procedure is, however, intended only to challenge facts that are inaccurately recorded. Complaints about matters other than accurate record-keeping are subject to the complaint and resolution procedures set forth in Section 9 of this student manual. Complaints regarding alleged violations of FERPA may be submitted to the Family Policy Compliance Office of the U.S. Department of Education, 400 Maryland Avenue Southwest, Washington, D.C. 2020252920. Cost of copies. Although the university offers students and former students an opportunity to inspect and review their educational records, copies may be provided if circumstances effectively prevent the student from inspecting and reviewing their education records and other arrangements cannot be made. In these unusual situations, the requester may be charged up to 10 cents per page, with the following exceptions. Official transcripts are available only from the Office of the University Registrar. Credentials and reference letter files with the Office of Career Advancement are handled by Interfolio and current prices can be found at Release of Students' Education Records. Under FERPA, except for directory information about a student's records may be released without their prior written consent only to other school officials who have a legitimate educational interest in the information. A school official is a person employed by the university in an administrative, supervisory, academic, research, or support staff position, a person or company with whom the university has contracted, such as an attorney, auditor, or collection agent, a person serving on the board of trustees, the visiting committee, or another university committee, a student serving on an official university committee, or who is assisting another school official in performing their tasks. And any other person determined by the university to have a need to know the information in order to perform their administrative tasks, provide a service or benefit for a student, or to fulfill a legitimate educational interest of the university. A school official has a legitimate educational interest if the official needs to review an education record or have access to the information in the education record in order to fulfill their responsibilities for or on behalf of the university. As specified in more detail in FERPA, a student's education records may also be disclosed without their prior written consent under certain circumstances, including to specified federal and state officials subject to certain conditions. To officials of another school, school system, or institute of post-secondary education that has requested the record and where a student seeks or intends to enroll. In connection with a student's application for or receipt of financial aid. To state officials who, pursuant to state statute prior to November 19, 1974, had access to records. To organizations such as the Educational Testing Service and the College Entrance Examination Board for the purpose of developing, validating, or administering predictive tests. To accrediting organizations for the purposes of accrediting. To appropriate persons, including parents, in the event of health and safety emergencies. In response to a judicial order or subpoena, and to parents of a student who is a dependent for income tax purposes and to parents or guardians of a student who is not a dependent to the fullest extent allowed under FERPA and have a signed release form submitted to their area. Dean of Students. Release of information to parents and guardians. FERPA requires the university to have a student's written consent to release information from the student's education record. Exceptions to this requirement include the release of information to other school officials who have a legitimate educational interest in the information, and to parents of an eligible student who claim the student as dependent for tax purposes. The university may also notify parents if officials are aware of a health or safety concern that poses a significant danger to the student or to others. The college may also notify a parent or guardian in cases where there is a change in a student's status in the college. In order to be notified of any other information, parents must complete, and return to the office of the Area Dean of Students, a statement of their student's dependent status for tax purposes. If a student is not a dependent but wishes that parents be notified of their status, the student may fill out a consent form. In the college, both forms are sent to parents in the summer prior to the student's matriculation. Students may notify the university of changes in their tax dependency status at any point by filling out a form in the office of their Area Dean of Students. Student enrollment status. Enrolled students are certified during each quarter of study as enrolled full-time, half-time, or less than half-time. Note: ordinarily college students are not allowed to enroll in fewer than 300 total units of registered course credit at any time. Please refer to the college catalog for further information. Full-time. A status that is accorded to all students enrolled who undertake an academic workload consisting of any combination of courses, work experience, research, or special studies that is considered a full-time workload. The following classifications of students are considered full-time. Students who are enrolled in 300 or more total units. Master's students in the School of Social Service Administration and in the Urban Teacher Education Program who are enrolled in 200 units and non-credit practicums. Ph.D. students in any quarter of enrollment. Medical students who are enrolled in 100 units. Students in degree or non-degree seeking programs who are considered full-time equivalent due to the nature of their program of study or research as authorized. Half-time. The following classifications of students are considered half-time. Students who are enrolled in 200 to 299 total units, unless for other specified reasons they are considered full-time. Master's students in the School of Social Service Administration and in the Urban Teacher Education Program who are enrolled in less than 200 units and non-credit practicums. Less than half-time. The following classifications of students are considered less than half-time. Students who are enrolled in 25 to 199 total units, unless for other specified reasons they are considered half-time or full-time. Students enrolled in non-credit exams or coursework. Students in extended college status. The Office of the Dean of Students in the college may approve a substatus of extended college for those students who have completed required course registration and are choosing to graduate the end of that quarter or a subsequent quarter. Students approved for such status will be assessed a quarterly fee to maintain extended college status. Such students may hold extended college status for the remainder of the academic year in which they were approved for such status. While registered in extended college status, students may remain enrolled in the University Student Health Insurance Plan, and will be assessed the quarterly student life fee. Students in extended college status also retain their Ratner athletic facility and library privileges for the duration of this status. If the student does not graduate before or by the end of summer quarter, they will be registered for a leave of absence for the next academic year, beginning autumn quarter. Students on LOA do not have any of the above-mentioned privileges. Students on LOA may enroll for USHIP continuation coverage through the on-campus United Healthcare Student Resources Office. Visiting students. Students from other institutions or other visitors with no current institutional affiliation may enroll at the University of Chicago in one of the four following statuses depending on either the academic reason for attending the University of Chicago or existing arrangements between the University of Chicago and another institution. Undergraduate non-degree visitors are advanced undergraduate students pursuing a degree at another institution who would benefit from undertaking research at the University of Chicago. Undergraduate non-degree visiting students are allowed in summer quarter only. Considered to be in full-time student status. Registered through the appropriate area dean of students or the Graham School of Continuing Liberal and Professional Studies. Charged a non-degree visitor fee as well as other mandatory fees. Required to have health insurance. Eligible to participate in laboratory-based research. Not eligible to enroll in courses at the university, and given student privileges such as access to the libraries, student housing, athletic facilities, and electronic networks. Undergraduate non-degree visiting students must comply with all university rules and regulations and are subject to student disciplinary systems. This status is available for the summer term only and will not be extended. Summer term is understood to extend from the first day after the end of the spring quarter to the last day before the beginning of the autumn quarter. This is meant to accommodate differences in the academic calendars of institutions worldwide. Graduate non-degree visitors are advanced graduate students pursuing a graduate-level degree at another academic institution, who are at the research or writing stage, and who temporarily work on their research project with a faculty member at the University of Chicago. Graduate non-degree visiting students are considered to be in a full-time student status. Charged the non-degree visitor fee per quarter as well as other mandatory fees. Eligible to participate in laboratory-based research. Not eligible to enroll in courses at the university. Not allowed to take on a teaching position with the university, and given student privileges such as access to the libraries, student housing, athletic facilities, and electronic networks. Graduate non-degree visiting students must comply with all university rules and regulations and are subject to student disciplinary systems. This status is available for no more than 4 consecutive quarters, including the summer quarter. This status may be extended by up to 4 consecutive quarters upon recommendation of the faculty sponsor and the area dean of students and with the approval of the executive vice provost. A student who has been offered and has accepted admission to a graduate program at the University of Chicago may join the university as a non-degree visiting student for the summer immediately preceding the beginning of graduate studies with the university. Summer term is understood to extend from the first day after the end of the spring quarter to the last day before the beginning of the autumn quarter. Exchange students are students at another institution who come to the university under an exchange agreement between the university and their home institution. The exchange agreement will stipulate the specific arrangements. However, generally, exchange students are considered in a full-time student status. Not eligible to enroll in UChicago student insurance or to use on-campus student health service. Not charged University of Chicago tuition. Not charged University of Chicago mandatory student fees. Charged any applicable course fees such as lab, book, or material fees. Eligible to enroll in classes at the University of Chicago with documented approval for each class, and given student privileges such as access to the libraries, athletic facilities, and electronic networks. Exchange students must comply with all university rules and regulations and are subject to student disciplinary systems. Graduate students at large are students interested in taking courses for a grade at the University of Chicago even though they are not admitted into a degree-granting program at the university. Graduate students at large will be registered through the Graham School of Continuing Liberal and Professional Studies and are eligible to enroll in up to 3 courses per quarter. Enrollment in 3 courses per quarter confers a full-time student status. No more than 3 course credits earned as a graduate student at large may be transferable if admitted into a degree program at the university. Charged tuition as well as other mandatory fees, and given student privileges such as access to the libraries, student housing, athletic facilities, and electronic networks. Graduate students at large must comply with all university rules and regulations and are subject to student disciplinary systems. Full-time enrollment status for F1 or J1 visa holders. Foreign students holding F1 or J1 status in the United States on the basis of an immigration document issued by the University of Chicago may not register part-time as defined by the university registrar. Nor may such students elect to reduce their registration status to part-time anytime during a quarter. Exceptions must conform to those outlined in federal regulations governing foreign students, and require approval in advance from the Office of International Affairs. For details on regulatory requirements and processes in place at the Office of International Affairs, students should consult OIA's website at or contact their international student advisor at OIA. Other provisions. Any student who, during a quarter of non-registration, takes a language examination, for which a fee is assessed, has a registration status of no credit. Withdrawal from the university. The university takes seriously the decision of any student to suspend studies and withdraw from their program. Whether for academic, financial, or other personal reasons, such actions are understood to be life-changing. Students considering such actions are strongly encouraged to seek the confidential advice of their area deans of students, departmental advisors, financial aid, student health and counseling services, and campus and student life professionals. College students who decide not to return to the college must formally withdraw their registration. To do so, students should contact the office of the Dean of Students in the college. Students who decide to return to the college after being withdrawn must apply to resume their studies. The college is not obliged to approve a student's return. Students who are approved to resume their studies are expected to complete their program without further interruption. See the section on Petitioning the Committee on the Resumption of Studies in the college catalog at. Students who do not meet with a dean will have a note, unofficial withdrawal from the college, posted to their University of Chicago transcripts and are liable for all tuition and fees assessed for any quarter for which they have registered. Students in the graduate divisions and professional schools who decide to withdraw from their programs of study should meet with their area dean of students to review their plans. International students should report their decision to withdraw to the Office of International Affairs. Students who have taken educational loans must have an exit interview with the appropriate financial aid office. Quarterly mandatory fees. Student life fee. Generally, all registered students must pay the quarterly student life fee, a percentage of which covers services provided at student health and counseling services. Student spouses, same-sex domestic partners and dependent children age 14 and older who are insured through the University Student Health Insurance Plan, are assessed the dependent life fee and are entitled to receive services at SHCS. For a detailed description of the student life fee, visit Summer Access. Students registered at the university during the summer will automatically be assessed the summer quarter student life fee on their student account. Students registered during the spring quarter but not registered during the summer, who remain in the Chicago area during the summer, may elect to purchase the summer student life fee for continued access to the services of SHCS through August 31st. June graduates who are enrolled in USHIP, who will remain in the Chicago area during the summer, also may elect to purchase the summer student life fee, in order to meet the policy's requirements for primary care services from SHCS through August 31st. This election is made through the online enrollment site. Waiving the student life fee. The student life fee will be waived only for those students who live and study over 50 miles from campus and who will not be on campus during the academic year. Students need to petition their area dean of students to receive this waiver. There are no other grounds for waiving this mandatory fee. Student optional disclosure of private mental health information. The Illinois Student Optional Disclosure of Private Mental Health Act gives students the right to designate an adult as a contact person in the event that a student health service or student counseling service physician, clinical psychologist or qualified examiner determines that they pose a clear danger to themselves or others. Students are not required to designate a contact, but if they wish to do so, it can be anyone over the age of 18 years. Upon enrollment in their academic program, all new university students will be notified of their rights under this state law and will receive instructions on how to obtain and submit the disclosure form for designating an emergency contact. Forms are available at and from the campus and student life office. Additional administrative regulations. Chicago Card Policy. The campuses of the University of Chicago are places of learning, research, and residence, employment, recreation or sightseeing, and more. The university is pleased to welcome all who use its spaces and resources appropriately and responsibly. Students, faculty, staff, other academic personnel, postdocs, employees of affiliates operating in university buildings, alumni, guests, neighbors, visitors, tourists, and others use the campuses throughout the year. In an effort to sustain a welcoming and productive environment for those who live, work and study at the university limits access to some spaces and resources to those who have been issued a Chicago card, an official identification card. The university issues a Chicago card to students, faculty, staff, and some academic visitors so that they may gain access to spaces and resources not available to the general public either in general or at certain times. Individuals occupying university spaces or using university resources should understand that on occasion they may be asked to show identification or their Chicago card to a university employee whose role includes ensuring that only authorized individuals are present on university property or in facilities operated by the university, or that only authorized individuals are using certain university resources. If asked by such a university employee to show identification, UChicago ID carriers are required to show their card. If a student, employee, or academic visitor who is asked for identification has any concern about the request or believes that they were not treated appropriately during the interaction, that person must nonetheless comply with the request for identification and present their Chicago card. Subsequently, such an individual is encouraged to report their concern to their supervisor, the area dean of students, or to the associate provost for faculty and student affairs. Appropriate follow-up will then occur in accordance with university protocol. All interactions are expected to comport with the university's commitment to civility and the specific protocols of the schools, divisions, and other university offices and departments. The Chicago card is not transferable, must never be lent to any other person, and must be presented upon request as described above. The Chicago card should be treated with care, just like a driver's license, passport, or credit card. Misuse of the identification card will result in its forfeiture and may lead to disciplinary action. For more information about the functionality of the Chicago card and replacement of cards, please visit Petitions, Audio and Video Recording on Campus. Petitions. Any student who wishes to request special consideration under a university regulation or an interpretation thereof must file a petition with the university through the area dean of students in the unit in which the student is enrolled. Audio and video recording on campus. Public lectures and less formal or pedagogical presentations. Public lectures or talks should be distinguished from lectures that are either part of or closely associated with courses, workshops, or other organized instructional activities. Typically, public lectures will be those where the speaker presents in their professional role as a scholar or expert, rather than as a teacher. Public lectures also should be distinguished from settings in which it is customary to present work in progress, the kind of thing that might be marked, "Please do not quote." Thus, just because a lecture is advertised within a department does not make it public. Lectures and presentations by guests. Units of the university that sponsor public lectures by invited outside speakers often record the lectures. Unless written permission has been obtained from the speakers, however, the sponsoring unit, and the university, will not have the right to distribute or disseminate these recordings. Without this right, these recordings have limited usefulness. Therefore, permission to record and to make use of the recording should be obtained using a permission form prepared by the Office of Legal Counsel, which is available online at Lectures and presentations by university faculty members and academic staff. The circulation or publication of the text of public lectures by university faculty or academic staff has long been considered normal and unproblematic. At the same time, any reservation or refusal expressed by the presenter has always been respected. Consistent with this practice, public lectures by university faculty and staff may be recorded and used by the university, subject to university policy. The university may use for non-commercial purposes recordings of public lectures or presentations delivered by its employees within the scope of employment, even if copyright ownership is ceded to the author. Concomitantly, only the university, acting through the appropriate university officials, has the right to make and use recordings of the faculty's public lectures on campus unless special arrangements are made with the university. In keeping with past practice, any reservation or refusal expressed by the faculty member should be respected. Classroom activity and non-public lectures. Recording classroom activities or informal talks may be useful for some purposes. Units should be thoughtful about setting their own policies within the broad framework of university guidelines and expectations, to ensure that the act of recording does not impede expression or class participation and that the recording is not misused. Members of the faculty may record, or have recorded, their own classes for their personal use or for the purpose of exchange with colleagues, example, for the purpose of developing or demonstrating pedagogical skills. Instructors may permit a student to record a class session for the convenience of the student, for the benefit of another student who is unavoidably absent, or as part of an accommodation for a student with a disability. Students must understand that under university policy, permission given by a member of the faculty to record a class is limited to permission to record for personal use only. It is, for example, never permissible to copy, file share, sell, distribute, or web serve such recordings. Members of the faculty who believe that their classes are being inappropriately recorded, or that recordings are being misused, should contact their area dean of students. The university may from time to time wish to record, preserve, or disseminate the exemplary work of distinguished colleagues in the classroom or lecture room. When the university undertakes to make recordings of this sort, it will secure appropriate permissions. University policies do not permit members of the faculty to publish recordings of their classroom or lecture room efforts, or to grant to others the right to distribute recordings in any medium of teaching or lecturing undertaken in fulfillment of teaching assignments, without prior approval by the provost. The university has a sufficient interest in the intellectual property, Statute 18. And new technology policy and in the university's reputation to justify its setting this limitation on what a member of the faculty may do. Moreover, there is a potential conflict of commitment. A teacher may feel some pressure to modify what or how he teaches to make it more marketable. Recordings by student groups. Recordings by student groups of university events, academic or non-academic, may be made only with the consent of an official of the university familiar with the event. RSOs should seek consent to record from the Center for Leadership and Involvement, and other student groups should seek permission from their area dean of students. After permission has been given, the students are then responsible for securing appropriate permissions from performers, speakers, and participants. Such recordings and any derivatives made from them are the property of the university. Students may not copy, make derivatives from, distribute, or disseminate such recordings in any medium without the permission of the university. By long-standing policy, the university asserts no copyright in creative work such as film or video that is authored by students or student groups using resources normally available to them. Copyright of recordings. Recordings made at the university should be marked, Copyright, the University of Chicago. While the copyright of the recording is in the name of the university, the author of the underlying recorded work retains all applicable rights to that work. As is the case with university publications, websites, and other similar properties, recordings should carry the copyright of the university and not the individual unit. Student life and conduct authority to direct. On those occasions when a staff member finds it necessary to exercise authority on behalf and in the best interests of the university, students are obliged to follow their directives. Failure to follow the staff member's directive is a serious matter and may result in referral to an area disciplinary committee. If a student believes that a staff member has acted improperly, the student should 1. Obey the instructions of the staff member. 2. Inform the staff member that the student believes the staff member is acting improperly. 3. Register a formal complaint with the student's dean of students. Authority to summon. From time to time, a dean or their designee will require the immediate presence of a student to address a matter of genuine urgency. In such cases, the dean or designee may issue a summons requiring the student to appear in person at a specified time and place, regardless of the student's other commitments. Failure to appear as required by the summons is a serious matter and may result in a restriction of registration or referral to an area disciplinary committee. Involuntary leave of absence policy. As a community, our first concern is always the health and well-being of each student. To help students achieve their fullest potential and participate robustly and successfully in university life, the university provides students with a host of services, including the Student Health Service, Student Counseling Service, and Student Disability Services. SHS and SCS provide a wide range of health care to University of Chicago students, including general medical care, mental health care, assessments, emergency services, crisis intervention, medication management, academic skills counseling, short-term individual, couples, and/or group psychotherapies, and referral services. SHS and SCS also provide consultation to university officials who have concerns about a student's health. SDS provides support for students with a disability to facilitate the student's full participation in the life of the university. In extraordinary circumstances, a student's conduct raises concerns about the safety and well-being of the student or others, or causes significant disruption to the functioning of the university. Anyone aware of such circumstances should immediately contact the student's area dean of students. In response, the Dean of Students will make reasonable attempts to meet with the student to discuss their conduct and appropriate next steps. Based on a fact-specific inquiry, the Dean of Students may require that the student be assessed by SHS or SCS to determine if the student currently is able to function as a student and do so without posing substantial risk to the safety of the student or others, or serious disruption to the functioning of the university. Using reasoned judgment, the Dean of Students may determine that, in the best interest of the student and/or others, the student may remain enrolled without conditions, may remain enrolled with conditions that are to be described in writing, or should or, in some circumstances, must take a leave of absence. In making an informed decision to place a student on an involuntarily leave of absence, the Dean of Students will consider germane medical and other information available to him or her, including information provided in a timely manner by the student. The student may be asked to sign a medical records release, and to authorize direct communication between the SHS or SCS director and the student's medical provider regarding the circumstances and the student's medical information, and to authorize the director to share the substance of those communications with the Dean of Students or others, as appropriate. If a student declines to authorize communications between and among the student's provider, the area Dean of Students, and SHS or SCS director and/or declines to authorize the release of germane medical records, then the area Dean of Students will make the decision after considering all of the available information and will do so without the benefit of information that may be directly germane to the decision. Often, the student is in a better position to engage in treatment and return to stable, good health at home or in a less stressful environment. With this in mind, if a leave of absence is indicated, the student normally first will be given the opportunity to take the leave of absence voluntarily, thereby eliminating the need to complete the involuntary leave process and preserving, to the extent possible, confidentiality and privacy. If the student declines to take a voluntary leave of absence, the Dean of Students has the authority to place the student on an involuntary leave of absence by restricting or canceling the student's existing and further registration irrespective of academic standing or involvement in extracurricular activities. Ultimately, the Dean of Students may require an involuntary leave of absence when the Dean determines that the student has engaged, or threatened to engage, in conduct that has caused or is likely to cause serious disruption to the learning, extracurricular and living activities of members of the community or others, including by impeding the rightful activities of others, and/or based on the consultation with the SHS or SCS director and the individualized assessment of the student's ability to safely participate in the university's programs, that the student is unable to function as a student and/or the student's continued presence on campus poses a substantial risk to the safety and well-being of the student and/or others. If a student refuses to cooperate with efforts deemed necessary by the Dean of Students to evaluate the cause of the student's conduct, the student may be placed on involuntary leave. In some circumstances, the level of care and modifications needed may exceed the resources or appropriate staffing capabilities of an university or may be beyond the standard of care that an university health service can be expected to provide or monitor, in which case continued enrollment may constitute. For this individualized assessment is based on reasonable medical judgment relying on current medical knowledge and best objective information regarding the duration and severity of the risk, the probability that a potentially threatening injury will occur, and the likelihood that reasonable modification of existing policies, practices and procedures will sufficiently mitigate that risk. The individualized assessment will include consideration of germane medical information timely provided by the student, in which case the student normally will be asked to sign a release that will allow the SHS or SCS director and the student's provider to communicate directly regarding the circumstances and student medical information. A serious disruption of the residential community or the learning environment, justifying an involuntary leave of absence. In addition, a student may be placed on an involuntary leave of absence if arrested for serious criminal conduct and/or formally charged criminally with a serious crime. When the area dean of students judges a student's continued presence is reasonably likely to pose a substantial risk to the safety and well-being of the student or to others, the student may be placed on an emergency interim leave before a final determination, as described above, is made. Every reasonable attempt will be made for the area dean of students to meet with the student and to consider germane medical and other information timely provided by the student before deciding on an interim leave, and the student will be informed of the interim leave in writing. The emergency leave will remain in effect until a final decision has been made or a determination has been made that the reasons for imposing the interim leave no longer exists. Determination and request for review. When the area dean of students decides that a leave of absence is appropriate, the decision and the conditions for resumption of studies will be communicated promptly in writing. A student placed on an involuntary leave of absence may request, within 15 days of the date of the decision, a review of the decision from the dean of students in the university. The student must submit the request for a review of the decision and any supporting materials in writing. The leave of absence will remain in effect during the period that the dean of students in the university and area dean of students considers the student's request. The dean of students in the university and area dean of students will review appropriate records and documentation, confer with the director of SHS or SCS and, if feasible and appropriate, will meet with the student. The student may be asked to sign a medical records release and to authorize direct communication between the dean of students in the university and area dean of students and the SHS or SCS director regarding the circumstances. The student's medical information and information obtained from the student's medical provider. After review of all germane information, the dean of students in the university will use reasoned judgment to decide whether the leave of absence determination should remain in place, with or without modifications. The dean of students in the university and area dean of students will communicate a final decision in writing as soon as practicable. The decision is final and unreviewable within the university. Return from leave of absence. A student on a leave of absence will not be permitted to resume their studies until the area dean of students makes a fact-specific assessment of the circumstances and concludes that the student no longer poses a significant disruption to the functioning of the university and/or no longer poses a significant risk to the health and safety of the student or others, that cannot be eliminated by a reasonable accommodation. Point 5. In making this determination, usually the area dean of students will request that the student authorize their treating professionals to contact the director of SHS or SCS to discuss the student's clinical condition, whether the student continues to pose a direct threat to the safety and well. 5. For information about requesting accommodation for a disability, see section on university disability accommodations. Being of him herself and/or others, as well as the student's preparedness for a return to the academic rigor of the university, the ability to navigate self-sufficiently as a functioning, non-disruptive member of the university community, and the capability for continuing appropriate treatment via SHS, SCS, or other resources, if necessary. If the student is to continue treatment while resuming studies, the area dean of students will ask the student to sign a release that authorizes the treating professional to notify the area dean of students if the student does not adhere to the treatment plan. Notification of others. The area dean of students may notify a student's parents, emergency contact, or others when in the dean of students' judgment the student is unable to make the notification or the student's behavior poses an imminent danger to students or others, or requires an immediate disclosure of information to avert or diffuse serious threats to the safety or health of the student or others. There will be no distinction on a student's transcript between a voluntary and an involuntary leave of absence. Application of other policies. A leave of absence does not preclude the application of the university disciplinary systems, and a student will not be permitted to return from a leave of absence until any pending disciplinary case is resolved. In addition, this policy does not preclude or take the place of disciplinary or administrative actions that are a result of violations of, or non-compliance with, other university policies. Example: registration status blocked for failure to submit proof of immunizations or registration status withdrawn for failure to timely pay tuition. Presence on campus and involvement in student activities. Unless otherwise authorized in writing by the area dean of students, a student who has been placed on a leave of absence must promptly vacate university housing, leave campus, cannot participate in student activities or use any university facilities, and may not return until the student has been authorized to return from the leave and re-enroll. The only exception is that the student may access the University of Chicago Medical Center for the student's own health care treatment. A student on a leave of absence will be entitled to refunds of tuition, fees, and room and board charges as appropriate given the timing of the start of the leave of absence. When a dean of students mandates a leave of absence, generally such leave will be retroactive to the beginning of the quarter. For details on charges and issues relating to housing or insurance, the student should consult with their area dean of students. Outdoor events on campus. Access to university property. Many outdoor areas and a few buildings on campus are, in a general sense and during normal business hours, open to the public. However, the entire campus and all university-owned buildings are private. Property. The university thus restricts access to some buildings and outdoor areas during business hours, and restricts access to all buildings and some outdoor areas during non-business hours. In addition, from time to time, the university exercises its right to deny individuals access to all or some university property, normally after an individualized determination has been made that a person has engaged in criminal activity, suspicious activity, or behavior that is or is likely to be threatening, violent or disruptive to university operations and activities. All events and activities planned to take place out of doors on campus must be approved in advance by the Center for Leadership and Involvement. A university department and/or recognized student organization must sponsor all outdoor events. Requests must be submitted at least 48 hours before the start of the event so that appropriate offices can be informed. The person in charge of the event should submit a written request to reserve the quadrangle space, including the date, time, location, number of people expected to attend, whether food, alcohol, and/or non-alcoholic beverages will be served, and the playing of music or other amplified sound. And set up arrangements. Additional information may be requested from the sponsor about the proposed event. Event organizers must be present for the duration of the event. All banners, tables, signs and other paraphernalia used, as well as all trash generated by the event, must be removed when the event concludes. Alcoholic beverages. Alcohol is not allowed at events that have not received the appropriate alcohol approval. University officials or agents of the university have the authority to prohibit attendees from bringing alcoholic beverages to any university event and require appropriate identification for dispensing alcohol at events that have received approval. Unauthorized beverages may be confiscated by the official or agent. Co-sponsorship. Any event produced in conjunction with an outside organization or firm may require special contractual and/or insurance arrangements. The sponsor of any such event should inform the Center for Leadership and Involvement, and the sponsor must make the necessary advance arrangements with the Office of Risk Management. Noise level. To minimize the disruption of academic and administrative activities, music, amplified sound, or other loud noise is permitted generally only between noon and 1 p.m. and after 5 p.m. on weekdays and all day on weekends. Even during approved hours, all noise should be kept at a reasonable level, and university officials may require event organizers to change the volume to a specific lower level, or turn off the amplifiers altogether if the activity is taking place at or near medical center buildings. The City of Chicago does not permit the use of amplified sound on private property between the hours of 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Student organizations should make timely and appropriate arrangements with their Center of Leadership and Involvement advisor. Protesters and demonstrators, however, may not use amplified sound indoors. Their organizers may also need to obtain a permit from the City of Chicago and should consult the Center for Leadership and Involvement. Banners and/or signs are to be erected only by university departments or RSOs, and the schedule of their display must be approved by the Senior Director for the Center of Leadership and Involvement. Equipment construction. The erection or construction of any structure requires the approval of the Senior Director for the Center of Leadership and Involvement and consultation with the Environmental Health and Safety Office and Facilities Services. Special circumstances. Any outdoor event or display which involves special circumstances, such as the duration over an extended period of time, student sleepovers, large attendance, possibility of demonstration, or late-night early morning events will require special permission of the Senior Director for the Center of Leadership and Involvement in advance of the event. For events where a large crowd is expected or where there is a potential for the attendance of persons with views that differ from the views held by event organizers, in advance of the event, student organizations should provide the contact information of their Center for Leadership and Involvement advisor, and departments should provide the contact information of an appropriate full-time staff member in their department. That staff member may be required to attend. Contact information should be provided to the Associate Director of Community Development in the Center for Leadership and Involvement. Protests and demonstrations policy. While the university respects the freedoms and rights of every individual, there remains an expectation for all who interact on campus that their behavior be guided by the principles outlined in the Civil Behavior in a University section. The primary function of a university is to discover and disseminate knowledge by means of research and teaching. To fulfill this function, a free interchange of ideas is necessary not only within the university but also with the larger society. At the University of Chicago, freedom of expression is vital to our shared goal of the pursuit of knowledge. Such freedom comes with a responsibility to welcome and promote this freedom for all, even in disagreement or opposition. The right of freedom of expression at the university includes peaceful protests and orderly demonstrations. At the same time, the university has long recognized that the right to protest and demonstrate does not include the right to engage in conduct that disrupts the university's operations or endangers the safety of others. University Statute 21 states, "Disruptive conduct is conduct by any member of the university community that substantially obstructs, impairs, or interferes with teaching, study, research, or administration of the university, including UCMC's clinical mission. The authorized and other permissible use of university facilities, including meetings of university students, faculty, staff, administrators, and/or guests, or the rights and privileges of other members of the university community. Any member of the university who engages in disruptive conduct will be subject to disciplinary action. Disruptive conduct includes but is not limited to obstruction, impairment, or interference with university-sponsored or authorized activities or facilities in a manner that is likely to or does deprive others of the benefit or enjoyment of the activity or facility, and use or threatened use of force against any member of the university community or his or her family that substantially and directly bears upon the member's functions within the university." D. Non-call. The D. Non-call will often be called upon to be present at and monitor protests, demonstrations, and other events on or adjacent to university property. If called upon, the D. Non-call will work actively to preserve an environment of spirited and open discourse and debate, allowing for the opportunity to have all participants contribute to intellectual exchange and full participation in an event. In instances of disruptive behavior or violations of university policies, the D. Non-call will respond and provide direct instructions to stop disruption, if it is safe to do so. Failure to adhere to directives may result in referral to one or more university disciplinary systems. Noise level. All protests and demonstrations held outdoors are subject to the same guidelines outlined in the section Outdoor Events on Campus under the heading Noise Level. Building occupancy. For a protest or demonstration, attention must be paid to the occupancy limits and general safety of the university community in the space used. Please see Building occupancy limits and access. Adherence to building closures is expected of people participating in a protest or demonstration within a university building, and university officials will require that protesters or demonstrators leave at the time of building closure. Placards, banners and signs. Placards, banners, and signs generally are allowed but may not be dangerous for others or impede the participation of others in the life of the university. If the use of placards, banners, and signs are deemed to be dangerous or impede the participation of others, university officials will require the individuals carrying the placards, banners, or signs to move to a different location or remove their materials. Advance arrangements. To further the effectiveness of their event, organizations and other groups of students organizing a protest or demonstration are encouraged to make advance arrangements with the staff of the Center for Leadership and Involvement and/or their appropriate recognized student organization advisor. Advance notification enables the university to help ensure that the event takes place in a constructive and peaceable manner. When possible, a request to hold a protest or demonstration should be submitted at least 48 hours before the start of the event to ensure its successful execution. With the appropriate advance notice, RSO advisors together with the dean on call will engage with student protesters and demonstrators during the event to help assure that the event is effective, to ensure participant safety, and to assist organizers in seeing that the demonstration does not disrupt the normal functioning of the university. For events occurring on city sidewalks and streets adjacent to the university, students should make appropriate arrangements to acquire city permits and should adhere to city ordinances and applicable state and federal law. Please see the report of the Ad Hoc Committee on Protest and Dissent for additional information regarding the principles that govern protests and demonstrations on campus. Protest and demonstration duration. Protests and demonstrations normally are permitted until or unless university officials determine that university operations have been compromised and/or the rights of others have been significantly infringed. Interference with instruction and research are viewed as particularly disruptive to the university. Policy application. Application of this policy does not preclude the application of other university policies or regulations as may be warranted by a given situation, example authority to direct, university ID policy, use of the Dean and Call program, and university disciplinary systems. Furthermore, a protest or demonstration that significantly disrupts the operations of the university or fails to adhere to building closures may lead to arrest and prosecution for violations of City of Chicago ordinances or state or federal statutes. Counter-protest. A protest, demonstration, or event on campus may invite another form of protest. When these occasions arise, the expression of all parties is important. Please note that a separate protest area may be designated by campus and student life for those persons with views that differ from the views held by the event organizers. In order to ensure the safety of all participants, the university police department may require the attendance of one or more officers. All people participating in protests and demonstrations are expected to provide a form of university-issued or government-issued identification upon request from a university official. Posting policy. Members of the university community may publicize their events or causes in designated areas on campus through several methods. The form and content of the publicity will not be restricted, unless it violates the law, falsely defames a specific individual, constitutes a genuine threat or harassment, unjustifiably invades substantial privacy or confidentiality interests, or is otherwise directly incompatible with the functioning of the university. Additionally, event advertising may not include any suggestion of the availability of alcohol. All postings outside the designated areas of Reynolds Club must state clearly the name of the university organization or department responsible for the posting, and if applicable, event date, time and location. Postings should not cover current postings belonging to other organizations or individuals. Posters and flyers should be affixed to designated areas using adhesives or tacks that are easily removed and that do not damage surfaces. The use of glue, packing tape, duct tape or nails is prohibited. Facilities Services regularly clears off designated posting areas around campus. Violation of the posting policy may result in a range of consequences including the removal of postings by university staff, a fine or disciplinary action against the student group or individual student. Violation of the policy by individuals not affiliated with the university may result in criminal charges and/or a notice warning. A member of the university community who believes that a particular posting on Student Manual, University Policies and Regulations. 97. Campus violates the law, falsely defames a specific individual, constitutes a genuine threat or harassment, or unjustifiably invades substantial privacy or confidentiality interests should contact UCPD. Other questions or concerns about postings, including complaints about alteration, vandalism or unauthorized removal of current postings, should be directed to the Center for Leadership and Involvement. Anonymous posting. Anonymous postings that appear under a pseudonym or that do not include clear and unambiguous identifying information about the group or person responsible for them are allowed in designated areas in the Reynolds Club only. These postings must be dated and will be removed 1 week after posting. Anonymous postings must also adhere to all other guidelines described in this policy. Due to space constraints, anonymous postings must be placed only on designated bulletin boards and may not exceed 1 posting per event or cause. Posting by outside organizations. Postings produced by individuals or organizations unaffiliated with the university are permitted in designated areas in the Reynolds Club only and must adhere to all of the rules described in this policy. Unauthorized postings by outside entities found on university property outside the Reynolds Club are subject to removal. Banners. Only university groups may post banners on campus. Permissible locations include the Reynolds Club and on the walls and the main arches of Mitchell Tower. Banners may not be hung over windows and doors, or on woodwork. Banners should not cover current banners belonging to other groups. A maximum of 1 6-foot banner per group may be posted at any time. Groups are responsible for removing banners within 24 hours of their event. All banners, including banners without event dates, must be removed after 1 week of posting the banner. Advance approval for banners in other campus locations must be obtained from the appropriate office or building management. Banners and/or signs in outdoor areas are to be erected only by university departments or RSOs, and the schedule of their display must be approved by the Center for Leadership and Involvement. Special mention. The university has other ways that university community members may publicize events, some, but not all, of which are detailed as follows. Chalking. Chalking to publicize events is allowed only on campus sidewalks that can be washed out by rain. Water-soluble chalk must be used. Spray chalk is not allowed. If a member of the campus community objects to the chalking on a campus sidewalk, please contact the Center for Leadership and Involvement. Student Manual, University Policies and Regulations. 98. Solicitation and distribution of handbills and leaflets. All handbills or leaflets must clearly state the name of the organization or individual. Policies on solicitation and the distribution of handbills and leaflets vary by building. Online calendar. To post your event on the university online calendar, go to OR. A listing of events posted on the student events calendar is sent in a weekly email to all students in the college and any other subscribers to the list host. Online calendar postings must follow university publicity policy. Table tents in dining halls. College housing must approve table tents for the 3 residential dining commons, and the Center for Leadership and Involvement must approve the table tents for the C Shop and Hutchinson Commons. All requests must be submitted a minimum of 5 days prior to the posting date. Only 1 table tent per table is allowed for a display of at most 5 days. Unapproved table tents will be removed. Table tent advertisement must be for campus events only. All table tents must have the name of the sponsoring student group. Responsibility for guests. Student hosts are responsible for the behavior of their guests, who in turn are expected to conform to the standards of conduct applicable to university students. Speakers who come to campus at the invitation of a student organization are welcome to bring guests to their event. However, in those instances where an event is open only to members of the university community, speakers are limited to a total of 10 non-university guests unless special permission for additional guests is granted by the group's advisor and the manager of the speaking venue. In all instances, speakers who wish to bring guests to events open only to members of the university community must provide a list of guests to the advisor and the venue manager at least 48 hours before the event. If invited speakers are candidates for political office, the guidelines set forth in the university's political campaign activity memorandum must be followed. Sanctions by administrative units. Because access to and/or use of support services is a privilege, not an entitlement, any student who violates the rules and/or regulations of an administrative or operational unit is subject to sanctions up to, and including, revocation of access and withdrawal of services, and possible referral to the university's system of student discipline. University disciplinary systems. Student Manual, University Policies and Regulations. 99. Preamble. The University of Chicago is a community of scholars dedicated to research, academic excellence, the pursuit and cultivation of new knowledge, and the robust intellectual exchange among faculty and students. In support of this mission, every member of the university, student, faculty, other academic appointees, and staff, makes a commitment to strive for personal and academic integrity, to treat others with dignity and respect, to honor the rights and property of others, to take responsibility for individual and group behavior, and to act as a responsible citizen in a free academic community and in the larger society. Any student conduct, on or off campus, of individuals or groups, that threatens or violates this commitment may become a matter for action within the university's system of student discipline. The university believes that students must take responsibility for their own conduct. Under some circumstances, students also must take responsibility for the conduct of a group, or individual members of the group of which they are part. The group may be informal, such as a study group, or formal, such as a student organization. Groups are often bound by shared interests, values, and a mutual trust. Trust is also a critical underpinning of our community, trust between and among peers as well as trust between and among individuals of different rank or status. Every student bears responsibility for their misconduct, regardless of whether the misconduct takes place in a group setting or as a member or a group. However, individual misconduct may also be, at least in part, the responsibility of other members of the group and the group leadership. Misconduct by individual members of a group thus may become a matter for disciplinary action against the individual, the group, and the group leadership. The goal of the student disciplinary systems is to ensure a fair and orderly proceeding on questions of possible student misconduct. A disciplinary proceeding enjoys neither the advantages nor the limitations inherent in an adversarial proceeding of a court of law. The university's disciplinary systems and the legal judicial structures of the general society differ and are distinct in principle. Students who are subject to or involved in university discipline do not automatically abdicate any of the rights that are guaranteed to them by the civil society and, indeed, they remain at all times free to claim and assert those rights through the institutions, presumably judicial, of that society. At the same time, however, students must recognize that the university is a private enclave, dedicated to a purpose that imposes additional and special obligations while, at the same time, granting privileges to its members. Student misconduct therefore may be simultaneously subject to external legal or administrative proceedings and the university's disciplinary system. Under those circumstances, the university's disciplinary system normally will proceed independently and notwithstanding the pendency of external processes. Furthermore, university disciplinary committees are not bound by external findings, adjudications or processes, and thus they make independent judgments about the extent to which, if at all, to consider such matters. The university's disciplinary procedures therefore should not be confused with the processes of law. The university's regulations are applied to incidents that are not cases, the bodies that hear and dispose of incidents are not courts. Individuals who may accompany a student in the course of a disciplinary proceeding are not counsel advocating on behalf of the student and scrutinizing procedures for compliance with rules of evidence, and requests for review of disciplinary decisions are not appeals. Student Manual, University Policies and Regulations. 100. As a leading illustration of the sense of this statement, it should be understood that the relation of collegiality and trust that binds all members of the university community entails an obligation of truthfulness and candor on the part of everyone who participates in a disciplinary proceeding. An accused student, the accuser, and others must appear before a disciplinary committee if summoned and participate in a manner that helps the committee reach a complete and fair understanding of the facts of the incident at issue. The university has 4 student disciplinary systems. Area admission review systems in the college, graduate divisions, professional schools. And the Graham School address violations of university policies and regulations and other breaches of the standards of behavior expected of university students who have accepted admission but have not yet assumed the role of a student at the university. Area admission review systems are described here. Area disciplinary systems in the college, graduate divisions, professional schools, and the Graham School address violations of university policies and regulations and other breaches of the standards of behavior expected of university students. Area disciplinary systems are described here. University-wide disciplinary system is a procedure for student offenses that involve unlawful discrimination or sexual misconduct. The university-wide disciplinary system is described here. Disciplinary system for disruptive conduct provides a set of processes and standards that ensure the fair and impartial investigation of allegations that a student has engaged in disruptive conduct, i.e., conduct that falls outside of the principles of free expression and meets the definition supplied by Statute 21. The disciplinary system for disruptive conduct is described here. Area admission review systems. Each academic unit, the college, graduate divisions, professional schools, and the Graham School, has written procedures for addressing misconduct involving a student who has accepted admission but who has not yet assumed the role of a student at the university. Those procedures may be obtained from the academic unit or from the Office of Campus and Student Life. The unit-specific procedures follow the outline of the procedures described below, with variations that reflect the values and educational goals of the specific academic unit. Authority to defer or revoke admission before matriculation rests with the Area Admission Review Committee, composed of the Area Senior Admissions Officer or Chair of the Admissions Committee, the cognizant academic dean, and a representative from campus and student life. Admission may be deferred or revoked for fraud, misrepresentation, material omission of fact, dishonesty, violation of university standards in the application for admission, violation of university academic standards, or any other pre-matriculation misconduct. Generally, the person bringing the allegation of misconduct first will discuss the allegation with the senior admissions officer or chair of the admission committee of the academic area of the accused. Student Manual, University Policies and Regulations. 101. Student or designee. The area senior admissions officer or admission committee chair will notify the admitted student of the alleged infraction, request a prompt written response to the allegation, and otherwise gather and review germane information. Based on the inquiry, the senior admissions officer or admissions committee chair has the discretion and authority to dismiss the complaint, resolve the complaint informally, or refer the complaint to the Area Admission Review Committee. If convened, the Area Admission Review Committee will examine expeditiously the facts related to the allegation and the response. In its discretion, the Area Admission Review Committee may seek additional information from others with knowledge about the alleged misconduct and may ask the admitted student and/or others to answer specific questions or meet with the committee. The Area Admission Review Committee will determine the appropriate institutional action and/or discipline, including but not limited to withdrawal of admission, deferral of matriculation, public service, etc. Matriculation may be delayed so that the Area Admission Review Committee may complete its investigation and make a decision. The decision of the Area Admission Review Committee is final and unreviewable within the university. Area Disciplinary Systems. Each academic unit, the college, graduate divisions, professional schools, and the Graham School, has written procedures for student discipline. Those procedures may be obtained from the Office of the Dean of Students of the academic unit or from campus and student life. Procedures for area discipline follow the outline of the procedures described below, with variations that reflect the values and educational goals of the specific academic unit. Conduct involving possible violation of university policies and regulations and other breaches of standards of behavior expected of university students should be brought promptly to the attention of the Dean of Students of the academic area of the accused student. Conduct involving violation of the policy on harassment, discrimination and sexual misconduct should be brought promptly to the attention of the Title IX Coordinator for the university and/or the Associate Dean of Students in the university for disciplinary affairs in campus and student life. Reports from the university police about student misconduct will routinely be brought to the Area Dean of Students for possible disciplinary action. Furthermore, the Area Dean of Students may investigate and recommend disciplinary action based on reports from third parties of arrests, citations, or other conduct from external parties that come to the attention of the Area Dean of Students. Such violation and breaches of standards include but are not limited to plagiarism, cheating on examinations, falsifications of documents or records, theft, vandalism, violation of computing policies, violation of the alcohol and other drug policy. Physical or verbal abuse that threatens or endangers the health or safety of others, violation of an administrative department's regulations, failure to comply with directives of university officials including the university police, and violation of the terms of imposed disciplinary sanctions. Generally, the person bringing the allegation of misconduct first will discuss the allegation with the Dean of Students of the academic area of the accused student. The Dean of Students will conduct an inquiry into the facts, which may include but is not limited to interviews and obtaining written statements from pertinent other people. If the Dean of Students thinks that the circumstances warrant it, the Dean of Students will arrange for a meeting with the accused student as soon as practicable. In the meeting, the Dean of Students will inform the accused student of the alleged Student Manual, University Policies and Regulations. 102. Misconduct and will discuss the allegation. Based on the inquiry, the Dean of Students has the discretion and authority to dismiss the complaint, to resolve the complaint informally with the parties, to resolve the complaint formally, or to refer the complaint to the academic dean with a recommendation to convene an area disciplinary committee. If the Area Dean of Students resolves an allegation of misconduct informally, the Area Dean of Students may give the accused student an official warning and suspend specific student rights and privileges for a designated period of time. A copy of the written notice warning the accused student that the student is violating or has violated university policies or regulations will be placed in the student's educational record and retained according to the retention policies delineated above. See the section on record maintenance above. If the Dean of Students later finds that the student has engaged in additional misconduct, the Area Disciplinary Committee may be informed of the earlier warning. If the area disciplinary committee is informed of the earlier warning, the committee must consider it in determining further sanctions. In situations where an individual student has acknowledged responsibility for misconduct and the most likely outcome for that misconduct would be a sanction of warning or disciplinary probation if the area disciplinary committee were to be convened. The area dean of students may offer to resolve the allegation of misconduct formally without referral to an area disciplinary committee. In such matters, the area dean of students can propose the sanction of an official warning or place the student on disciplinary probation for a specified period of time. The student will be given the option to accept or reject this offer for resolution in writing. If the student rejects this offer for resolution, then the area dean of students may refer the complaint to the academic dean with a recommendation to convene an area disciplinary committee. If the student accepts the area dean of students' offer for formal resolution, the decision becomes final and unreviewable within the university, with one exception: if the area dean of students later receives new information that materially changes their evaluation of the case. Then the area dean of students may withdraw the formal resolution and refer the complaint to the academic dean with a recommendation to convene an area disciplinary committee. If the dean of students later finds that the student has engaged in additional misconduct, the area disciplinary committee may be informed of this resolution. If the area disciplinary committee is informed of this resolution, the committee must consider it in determining further sanctions. If the area dean of students refers the case to the area academic dean with a recommendation to convene an area disciplinary committee, and the academic dean decides that an area disciplinary committee is to be convened, the dean of students of the academic area of the accused student will ask the complainant to submit in writing the allegation as well as any available documentation supporting the allegation. The dean of students will inform the accused student of the allegation, give the accused student a copy of the academic unit's disciplinary procedures and ask the accused student to prepare a written response to the accusation. If there were witnesses to the alleged misconduct, the dean of students may ask pertinent witnesses to come before the disciplinary committee to answer questions and/or may ask witnesses to submit a written statement. A complainant should make every effort to include in the complaint all germane facts known at that time and provide all available supporting materials. Normally, once a disciplinary committee is convened, the complaint will not be revised to include new or different allegations or supporting materials. However, once a disciplinary committee is convened, the area dean of students may decline to investigate, or recommend that the same disciplinary committee or another disciplinary committee should decide new or different allegations based on facts that were known or should have been known to. Student Manual, University Policies and Regulations. 103. The complainant at the time of the initial complaint, or that were discovered in the course of the investigation. On the rare occasion that the accused student makes a complaint against the complainant, the dean of students may investigate the accused student's complaint at or about the same time the dean of students investigates the complainant's original complaint. The dean of students may decline to recommend that a disciplinary committee hear either complaint or both of the complaints. The dean of students also may recommend that both complaints be simultaneously heard by a single disciplinary committee or heard separately by the same or different disciplinary committees. Allegation of misconduct by an individual. The academic dean will appoint the members of the area disciplinary committee. All members of the area disciplinary committee are expected to maintain independent judgment and open-mindedness about the alleged misconduct. The area disciplinary committee ordinarily consists of 3 faculty members, 1 student, the dean of students, and a representative from campus and student life. At the discretion of the academic dean, up to 2 of the faculty appointees may be senior lecturers, clinical faculty, or other equivalent academic appointees. The 3 faculty members, senior lecturers, clinical faculty, or other equivalent academic appointees, the dean of students, and the representative from campus and student life constitute a quorum. Both the dean of students and the representative from campus and student life attend the area disciplinary committee meeting in a non-voting, advisory capacity. The Area Disciplinary Committee will meet to consider the incident as soon as practicable. When an Area Disciplinary Committee is convened, the accused student will be informed in writing of the alleged misconduct and the date, time, and place of the Area Disciplinary Committee proceedings. The Area Disciplinary Committee may convene before meeting with the accused student to discuss procedural matters. If the accused student has been accused of misconduct before, the Dean of Students may inform the Area Disciplinary Committee of the previous accusation, other pertinent information related to the previous allegation, and of any disciplinary action. In advance of the meeting, the accused student will be provided with a copy of all the written material furnished to the Area Disciplinary Committee. The accused student may bring a person to the proceedings whose role is limited to providing support to the accused student, not to serve as an active advocate or participant in the proceedings. The accused student should inform the Dean of Students 3 to 5 business days before the Area Disciplinary Committee is to meet if a support person will be attending the proceedings. If the person providing support is a lawyer, a representative of the university's Office of Legal Counsel also will attend the proceedings. The Area Disciplinary Committee may ask or summon the complainant and others to appear before the committee to answer questions of the Area Disciplinary Committee. The Area Disciplinary Committee will seek to reach a complete and fair understanding of the facts of the incident at issue. The student will be asked to speak before the Area Disciplinary Committee. If the proceedings involve multiple students accused of participation in the same misconduct, the accused students will each be heard separately and not in the presence of the other accused students. During the proceedings, if the Area Disciplinary Committee hears other individuals, the accused student may choose to be present when those individuals are heard. Only the Area Disciplinary Committee may ask questions of the accused student and others who appear before the committee. If the accused student refuses to appear before the Area Disciplinary Committee, the Area Disciplinary Committee shall. Student Manual, University Policies and Regulations. 104. Proceed without the accused student. Area Disciplinary Committee proceedings generally follow this outline. The chair of the Area Disciplinary Committee reminds all present that disciplinary proceedings are distinctly different from the legal judicial processes of the general society. That the relation of collegiality and trust that binds all members of the university community entails an obligation of candor on the part of anyone involved in a disciplinary proceeding, that disciplinary proceedings and their outcome are to remain confidential. The chair then restates the allegation into which the Area Disciplinary Committee is inquiring to determine what may have happened and whether sanctions are to be imposed. The accused student may be asked to make a statement in response to the allegation. Subsequently, committee members ask questions of the accused and others coming before the disciplinary committee and may conduct further inquiry. During the proceedings, if the Area Disciplinary Committee hears other individuals, the accused student may be present. At the completion of the inquiry, all present who are not members of the Area Disciplinary Committee will be asked to leave while the committee members deliberate on the allegation and inquiry, possible sanctions and implications of those sanctions, and come to a decision. The Area Disciplinary Committee decides, by majority vote and in consideration of all of the information before it, whether it is more likely than not that the accused student's conduct violated university policies and regulations or breached standards of behavior expected of university students. Disciplinary sanctions available to the Area Disciplinary Committee are set forth in the section below, called Sanctions for Misconduct. When the Area Disciplinary Committee reaches its decision, the Dean of Students will inform the accused student as soon as practicable and will send a confirmation letter in which both the decision and the review process are delineated. The action of the Area Disciplinary Committee is reported to campus and student life. Decisions of disciplinary suspension or expulsion will be recorded on the student's transcript and usually will read, "Not permitted to register from to." In cases of expulsion, the notation includes a statement, "Must reapply." Other offices, example, college housing, university registrar, etc., are to be notified if the action taken by the Area Disciplinary Committee affects those offices. Where appropriate, and as permitted by law, the Dean of Students may disclose allegations of misconduct and the outcomes of disciplinary proceedings to third parties, including to external organizations. A written record will be kept by the Office of the Dean of Students as part of the student's educational record, with a copy furnished to campus and student life. This record should include all materials furnished to the Area Disciplinary Committee, a copy of the confirmation letter sent to the accused student, a statement of the main findings which were relevant to the final outcome of the disciplinary proceedings and to the sanctions imposed, as well as the considerations of the possible implications of the sanctions. This record will be maintained according to the retention policies for student records.